I was 10, 11, 12, I don't remember, in line for the movies. And there were two guys in line in front of us, like 3 or 4 people in front of us holding hands. And my mother pulled me to her, not my siblings, just me, and looked at my father and said, "They're weird," which just made me look at those guys. And I went, oh, now I get it. I'm weird like they're weird. And I looked at them and I thought, they look happy. They look like they're in love. I'll be fine.
Inform brings you incredible stories.
I left 2 days before the revolution. It killed me so hard.
James has never experienced the taste of fruits that haven't been attacked by pesticides, just like he's never experienced a neighborhood that hasn't been attacked by bullets. Some things just go hand in hand.
People say what's on their mind.
I think that it is a cardinal sin to lie to the American people about war.
Partisanship is a version of narcissism.
In downtown San Francisco, the Commonwealth Clubs and Forum curates events that bring you face to face with the world's changemakers.
1/3 of the wage gains that women have made since the 1960s were made as a result of the birth control pill.
Twitter is a technology that I don't think we've seen before in this world.
Since 1903, the most innovative leaders have come to the Commonwealth Club to share their vision.
Sharing cars, sharing their homes, sharing. A shared dream, a shareable American dream. That could work.
You each can play a role in helping us chart a better future.
Housing and health and education and policy all live close to the surface in us when our children are murdered. It's all the same story.
We bring together the visionaries shaping the emerging trends in technology.
It was a combination of Instant and Telegram. It was the idea that you could take a moment in time and you could capture it and you could just send it out and broadcast it with the entire world.
I just threw the site together in about a week when I was at school.
Oh, great.
We've got angels, we've got incubators, we've got accelerators, we've got seed funds, we've got crowdfunding.
We eat, we drink.
One of our first dates ever, we pickled like 100 pounds of herring and made 300 pounds of sauerkraut.
Yay!
Yay! We never shy away.
75% of the people of this country want universal health care and expect it. And damn it, let's go.
Concentrated, deep, slow, loving, tender, passionate sex.
Whether you want to be on the cusp of current events or feast on pop culture.
I should have a great time writing. I should write a book that is as fun as any party I'd be skipping.
Inform events are fun and action-packed.
I have an anthropology scarf that does that twisty thing, so.
Come feed your mind and soul and celebrate the future with Inform.
I love San Francisco, and every time I come back here, I remember that this is the only city in America that has magic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Contreras, and I'm the director of Inforum. Thank you for joining us today for our conversation with acclaimed chef Dominique Crenn and Mother Jones's Maddie Oatman. We're here in honor of Chef Crenn's new book, Rebel Chef, In Search of What Matters. If you'd like to ask either of our speakers a question during this program, you can ask it in either the comment or chat section of the live stream that you're currently watching. The Commonwealth Club has temporarily suspended in-person events, but to keep the public informed during this outbreak, we're going full speed ahead with the full slate of live online programs. These programs are currently free to the public, so we ask that you please consider making a donation to help us continue our work during these times. You can visit us at commonwealthclub.org/online to learn more, and you can also text the word donate to 415-329-4231 during this program. Now, please join me in welcoming Dominique Crenn and Maddie Oatman to Inforum.
Hello, and welcome to today's virtual program with Inforum at the Commonwealth Club. I'm Maddie Oatman, senior editor at Mother Jones Magazine and host of the Mother Jones Food Politics podcast, Bite. And I'm so pleased to be in conversation today with Chef Dominique Crenn.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Dominique is an acclaimed restaurateur, a vocal activist, and the first female chef in the United States to receive 3 Michelin stars. And today we are going to touch on a lot of timely topics, I hope. And to start, she'll be discussing her new book, Rebel Chef: In Search of What Matters. It's a memoir that chronicles her journey challenging the status quo and becoming one of the most successful chefs of a generation. If you'd like to ask a question, please ask it in the chat if you are watching on YouTube, or in the comments if you're watching on Facebook. So let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dominique.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. How are we doing?
Well, this is a really strange time to be talking to you, and also a great time to be talking to you. And so I think to start, I just wondered how you've been doing during the lockdown and kind of what it's been like for you.
Well, it's been quite an interesting time for me. I don't know if you know, but last year I was also on the lockdown. I was going through about 8 to 9 months of cancer treatment. So I was literally at home, during that time. And I was looking forward for 2020 to be the day and the time and the year where I can go out and just travel the world. So the pandemic happened, and then, Black Lives Matter happened. But, it's, I looked at it as a time to reflect, but to reflect on who we are and what really matters with the pandemic. But I'm in the food industry, so we were at the front line of serving people and making sure the community had food on the table, from the medical workers and children and elderly people, and obviously the community. And so it was, we were doing what we needed to do. But yes, it's a very interesting time. But I think we have an incredible opportunity with what's going on in the United States right now and what's going on in the world. So I'm excited about the future.
I want to ask you a little more about that. I did really enjoy reading your book, Rebel Chef. It is quite an entertaining read. I think I read it all in one sitting.
Wow.
But I wondered why now, or I guess it was probably a few years ago, why it felt like a good time to write a memoir.
Well, so about 2 years ago, Penguin came to my agent and they asked him if I was interested in talking about my life, and then he was like, well, what? This is Penguin. You guys don't do cookbook. It's like, we're not interested in cooking book. We want to hear a voice, and I think she has a voice, and she has something to say. And I always wanted to, maybe the fact that I didn't go to cooking school, it was not, I felt that I had other things to say, and it was the right timing. So 2018, then through 2019, we finished the book at the end of 2019. It went to the publisher in I think January 2020, and then everything happened. But I think it's I'm someone that is very curious, and I always like to reflect and to share my story, but also to be able to inspire others. And I think I use food as a language, and now I use a pen as a language. So it was pretty natural for me to do that. And obviously, I was very lucky to have an incredible person like Emma Brooks that helped me to write the book. So English is not my first language.
So I think maybe a lot of people who had seen The Chef's Table, for instance, or heard from you over the years, knew that you were adopted. Right. But the actual story of why your family chose you is kind of remarkable. And I wondered if you could retell that, the part about your brother.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. So to give a little bit of context, in the 1960s, 50, 60, 70, adoption were a very interesting process, and especially for a French couple wanted to adopt kids that had no idea where they were coming from, was remarkable at the time and were quite courageous. I was abandoned when I was 6 months, and I was hanging out in an orphanage. And they called me very young, the smiley face girl. I was like always like bubbly and chatty and wanted to do, to be out there and just have fun with people. And then literally my brother, I think, chose me. He's 15 months older than me. And he was walking, I guess, with my mom and my dad through the orphanage. And somehow they just turned around and suddenly he was like holding me, and kissing me. And my mom was like, okay, that's the one that we want. That little one. Who is that? This is the two beautiful people that couldn't have kids, and they wanted to, share their love to, kids that didn't have a chance to have, a home. So I don't know. It's a beautiful story. I think I always say it's easy to have kids. Like you can, you sleep with someone, you can have kids, but it's not easy to be a parent. And they were really a parent to me, so to my brother and I. So we were very lucky. So,
and it seems like you felt that you didn't always fit in with kids your age, but it wasn't because you were adopted. It was because of some other things. Yeah,
I've been very curious all my life, and I never felt that I fitted in one category. If you look at my upbringing, I was surrounded. I literally hang out with everyone from everywhere. It was really diverse. My group was very diverse. I didn't want to be like, the girl with the long hair and hanging out just with the girl. No, it was not me. I was a tomboy, first of all. I wanted to be a soccer player. I wanted to just tell people that, hey, I'm here, just see me, and I wanted to be curious about others, and I wanted to learn more about what was the others. But I was also very young age. I was, they called me the Zorro, which, I literally was all about justice. If anyone is bullying in my school, or anyone is, bothering my brother, my friend, I was there, and I was there to kick some ass. Yep.
I'm also not sure I believe it. I really do. I'm not sure I've heard of that many 11-year-olds who are that entranced with politics to the point that you begged your parents to take a trip to communist Poland.
Yes.
What do you remember about that trip?
Well, I remember that I was watching, the TV, and it was during the Cold War. And then I talked to my dad, and I was just like, Dad, it's just, tell me about this. I don't understand why, what's going on. And he started to talk to me, and I'm like, you know what? You have friends in Poland. Let's go to Poland. And he's like, you're 11 years old. How are you going to get to Poland? It's like, well, you have friends in Poland. My brother and I can go to Poland. I know there is a train that go from France to the East. Remember, the East Germany and the West Germany was still happening. So it was about 34 hours of train. And you say, well, you can put us on the train, and then we will then tell your friend, and they come and pick us up at the train station. And it's like, Dom, it's not that easy. And I'm like, this is very easy, because I said to my dad, I don't want to learn through the media. I want to see for myself. And my dad was like, and my mom was like, okay. So it was my brother and I on the train, and it was very one of the most incredible experience I ever had, because remember, it was probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We were in a train, and then suddenly we heard a lot of voices. It was German voices, and then my brother and I looked outside of the window, and it was like those German soldiers lined up with their rifle and their dog, and they got into the train, and they were like, passport. That's what I heard, And we were in East Germany, and East Germany was not free at the time. And then, so that was, for 11 years old, that was a little bit scary. And then when we arrived in Poland, and I fell in love with the people of Poland and their story and their struggle. And I was taken, and I understood that politics didn't have anything to do with the people that were living in the country. It had to do with people in power that often were not the voice of the people that were living in the country. So I kind of knew that very young. And
yeah, that concept has kind of something I hold on to the last couple of years, traveling outside of the US. I think people around the world, many people have a sense of that.
Right. So, and it's also to say to people, do not judge people because they're from a certain country. Get to know them. And really open your heart and your mind to others that might not be the voice of whatever president is at the helm, So it's just, it gives you a different way and sense to look at humanity differently, And I think it was really impregnated inside of me at a very young age. And also not understanding where my DNA was from also. I knew that I could present myself to a certain, privilege or certain elite, because I didn't, I'm just a human, and I don't really know anything about myself. So it's been, very young. It kind of opened up, I don't know why I'm not a politician today, to be honest with you.
Maybe because you know all of that.
Yeah, perhaps.
And so you famously did not go to cooking school or even work in a restaurant before getting your first job. But you did make sandwiches at a summer camp, and
at a country club. A tennis club in France, yes.
And you were and they were phenomenally good.
Yes.
You say. So yeah. I wonder, what made your sandwiches stand out?
Because I wanted to use the best ingredient, like my mom and my grandmother taught me, and I knew it was all about the bread, and it was about layering flavors with the best ingredient you could find in front of you at the supermarket. So, and I was very, taking this very seriously. I had my baguette, and it needed to be fresh and from the best baker, and then I had to layer flavors. It could be, saucisson, it could be ham, it could be tomato, but everything needs to be layered inside. Making sure a little bit of salt and pepper, a little cornichon, a touch of butter. That was it. Less was more, but it was all about the bread, and the ingredient inside was elevating the taste of the beautiful baguette that people were biting into it. So, and I think that's what a sandwich should be. It should be less is more. It should be all about beautiful ingredient, but you don't have to. It doesn't have to be abundance like 10,000 things. It's just you want to test. It's testing. It's very important. Let's not talk about American sandwiches, but.
Well, I was going to say, I think you might be proud. My husband made his own mayonnaise, which is probably more common for
yes
for you, but it has really elevated our sandwich game recently.
I think it teaches you when you take care of what you have in front of you. It could be a sandwich. It could be you can write. You can take a picture. You can do painting or singing. If you take care of what you're supposed to do at that moment, I think it can elevate so much more. The result can be so much more than if you just like don't care about it and cut corners. So that's what I was doing. I'm not saying I'm making the best sandwich, and I'm not saying that American sandwiches are not good. It was just I didn't understand them. So it's in a book.
So you and I have something in common, which is we both moved to San Francisco in our early 20s without ever having been here before.
Right.
So and it seemed like you actually chose the city kind of randomly. What do you think it would have been like for you to move to today's San Francisco?
Well, I think I don't know if it would have been the same feeling. Maybe, I don't know, close. Maybe San Francisco changed so much, and there is so many layers of different things that's happening. But I always thought, San Francisco is magical in a lot of ways. It's a place of where you feel free of who you are and you're not judged by anyone. And it's also a place of innovation. It's a place that started a lot of different movement. It's a place of diversity. There's a lot of different culture here. There's a lot of history. And it's a place that I think that maybe with just your luggage and nothing within your pocket, you can make something out of yourself, because it's surrounded by people that listen. And that's what San Francisco has been for me. And still today, there is still, I think the homeless problem is a problem for me, that I don't understand why we're not tackling this and we're not helping all those wonderful people that don't have any housing when, it's just, I don't know. But that's another, I think that's another conversation.
Do you have any kind of thoughts on what the city could be doing better in that regard?
Yeah, I think we need to stop to be complacent and start to go the conversation and start to realize that those people are very important, and they were a long time ago. They've been the core of what San Francisco was, and to be dismissive and to invite maybe other company here to build a city, and you want the city to be rich, you gotta take care of your community first, and I think it's a conversation. And I think, honestly, perhaps this pandemic's gonna perhaps help us to rebuild and redefine San Francisco. And hopefully, I've talked to a lot of those homeless people, and they are wonderful. Their story are amazing. I mean, not a long time ago, I was talking to this young woman that literally had a tent about a block away from one of my restaurants, which is Petit Crane. And I started to talk to her, and I said, my restaurant is here. Do you need anything? And she's like, no, I live here because I'm homeless. I don't have enough money to be to rent a house or an apartment, but I have a job. And I was just like,
wow.
Yeah. So there is different layering, and so what you see is like, why we have to charge so much money? Everybody should have a roof under their head. They should have a home to be. So I would love to have a discussion with Mayor London. And
are you listening, Mayor London? Maybe she can.
I think a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and we need to tackle that. This is unacceptable.
Another issue you're probably well familiar with is just there's been a worker shortage for restaurants for many years. The cost of labor on top of just the high living expense, and it's in a business model that already has such thin margins to begin with, which is making operating restaurants here increasingly difficult. And that was even before the pandemic.
Right.
So I wonder if you could talk about the ways that you've made your restaurant a place people want to work and can work and stay here despite the challenges of.
Right. I mean, yes. I mean, obviously, it's been a challenge. I think all over the United States, but all over the world too. So what we understood that challenge, and we don't want a cook or anyone that work at the restaurant that need to rent a place with 20,000 people, because that's the only thing that they can afford. We want them to be able to have a life that is healthy and that is inspiring, and work is work, but is also making sure that they feel that when they go home they can also breathe. So we very early on minimum wage was not the starting point for us. We wanted to make sure that we wanted to pay a wage where it was livable. With my business partner, the bottom line was not about making profit, but making sure that we were also offering a medical insurance, a 401k plan, vacation, a place that they could feel that, oh, I'm going to work, but I'm being taken care of. We developed a lot of different programs for education, and also give a space of people. Well, I'm a cook right now, but I would love to become, maybe a sommelier. So give them, a space also for us to, so kind of create a family and give them the tool so they felt that they were taken care of and they were seeing. So that way they could say, well, you know what, I want to grow within the company. And I know I have a space that I can grow. So creating that space, and to reinvest in the people that were working with us. So, it's not juggling, it's also, for us to make that point that, yes, we do have a business. Yes, obviously there is money involved, but people that are working with us, they're making that business. So we need to take care of them. So it's kind of this idea of making sure that everybody was seeing and taking care of. And believe me, it's not easy, it's not easy. So with this pandemic, I just, we came together, and I never believed in tips. I never believed in tips. And if anyone knows about the tips, it comes so far away. This story is, I think it has to do with a little bit of slavery, And so I would never believe that, oh, I'm going to give you tips because I think you did a good job. No, I always believe that we need to pay people and to pay for the job and their value. And it's very important, And if someone want to leave, something great, but you need to pay a wage that someone deserves because they're doing the work, and as tip or no tips, it should not be involved. So when we reopening Atelier Crane, and we are eliminating there's no more server. It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's sommelier and my kitchen that is doing an amazing work. And they're making the food, so they want to serve the food to the guests, and no more middle people, So, and if they want to leave anything for anyone, that money will go across the board to the people in the kitchen. So their wages, would be maybe more than, but they would be, they know with the wages that they have right now, they can, I think. I'm going to give you, I think, a CDP that started at Atelier Crane that just come out of school. I think they're making a minimum of close to $60,000 a year just coming out. So, and with, other things, and then there is, forward camp. So it's a pretty good, it's not, but it's not 20 or 30, it's not like, and then with the sommelier, it's about giving them a salary, and then and giving them also a part of the business, a commission, so trying to create really a system where everybody is equal. Everybody is treated equally.
And so you got rid of tipping back in 2016, I think, at least for Atelier Crène.
But to say that people keep tipping.
Interesting.
And so it doesn't they're not working for, I have to make so much tip tonight. No, they come to work, they know exactly what they're making, and they're happy. And then if there is extra money, this is like, oh my God, this is great, So it just changed the way. But I never liked tipping. Tipping is something I didn't grow up with. I know this is. I don't think it's a good way of rewarding someone when you pay them maybe $1 or $2 an hour, and then the company think, oh yeah, I'm just not going to pay a lot of money, but they have tips, so they can live with the tips. It's like, no, don't think that way, So
yeah, it forces people in certain positions to have to do things they might not want to do to try and make up that money.
Yeah, and that's not.
Yeah. So do you think all restaurants should get rid of tipping?
I've been having a lot of conversation with a lot of different friends in San Francisco that are chefs that own restaurant, and yes, they want the tips to go away, and they want to be able, to pay, their employee the money they deserve. But there's a lot of things also needs to happen. Also, my industry. It's been quite invisible for a lot of people. We've been treated in a way that it's hard. We are on survival mode every day. We survive every day, and, I think lawmakers need to change the law. We need some help. We can't, we pay a lot of taxes. We pay a lot of things. And at the end of the day, it's just like, if you break even, it's great, but the next day you need to go back to work and you need to feed people. So during those pandemic, when those mom and pop and they had to close because they were not going to do takeout. Takeout was not going to make them surviving. So I don't know. It's just, I think we are into a bigger conversation right now with the Restaurant Association and with the governor and with the mayor, and to try to change the way we've been treated as an industry. And it's interesting, the small businesses represent, we are, I think, 50.6 million people that are employed in my industry, and then 4% of the GPD, but we also the connection of other industry. If there is no food, there is no farmers, there is no fishmonger, there is no essential, people that will come and give us, salt and olive oil and, or the wine, we connect a lot of industries. So, so we need to be taken care of now.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's what really draws me to covering food, and as a journalist, it allows you to access so many other things, stories. And I think also forcing people to ask questions about their food forces larger conversations. So you're not shy about that. Last year, you took meat off your menu, except for seafood.
Right.
And so first I'm curious, because I have not lived in France and I'm not a French trained cook. Would that be a crazier thing for the French or for Americans? Do you think you would have gotten more shock and awe for doing that in France or less than here?
maybe, but not anymore. There is more. 'Cause I was in Paris last year, and there is more restaurant that are serving vegetable and seafood or just vegan than there is in the United States. But I want to tell you, so when I opened Petit Crème, I never had meat on my menu. We never had any bad product. I never advertised it. I had vegetable and the fish from different fishmonger from the Bay Area. Never advertised it. I took meat out of Atelier 2 years ago, and then Bar Crème was last year. And the reason why I did this is that the meat factory, those industry, needs to go away. And it was for me to take a stand. We need to understand where the food comes from. I mean, I know a lot of little rancher that you're doing, they treat their animal very well, and I'm not against them, but I wanted the industry to wake up. It is like, I mean, we are a country of high consumption. I mean, the meat that you're eating from whatever, fast food, do you know where the meat comes from? I don't want to give that to my children.
Yeah.
And it's not good, and I think we need to realize that we need to balance the way that we eating and the way that we producing and the way that we engaging with nature, and I think if we can get there, I'm not talking about taking meat out of the menu. I'm just saying that we need to reflect on the consequences of these after the 1950, when the industrialization of food happened. What's been happening? 50 was not that long ago. That was 60 years. And look at the world. We are in trouble right now. Climate and the way that, the inequality also, the food injustice. We saw exactly through that pandemic that, the first community that were affected was mostly, African American and the Latino community. And then if you really peel the layer, exactly that those communities, they don't have access to the food that they should have access to. But if you look at the history of everything up to the 1950 and 60, the best food in America was the food cooked by African American. Amazing. And then the SBA alone start to give money to those big companies like McDonald's and Burger King and whatever. And they went to those communities and killed the culture and offer them something that was much cheaper. It's like, oh, I can give you food, and then the culture disappeared. And then what happened is just like we took the access of good food from them. So, I mean, it's so political, and I want to change that. We have the power to change that right now. And we need to look as a consumer, when you spend your money, you need to know where your money comes from. Buying is an act of activism. Eating is an act of activism. Look at everything, what you do in life. Everything needs to have a purpose. Ask questions. And I think that it's what people want right now. If they walk into a restaurant, they want to know what the chef is doing. What is their involvement with climate change, with the food chain, with their community? How do you work with your community? Do you buy food because they are in season? Do you write a menu because you don't care, because you just want to write a menu, or you just want to write a menu because you understand that when you cook this food is also going back to your community, and then you're involving your farmers and your fishmonger, and then maybe the person in Petaluma that's making amazing cheese, What is your purpose,
I think for a lot of people, the thought of giving up meat,
right.
People talk about doing that for environmental reasons. And
Sure.
I know that's one of the reasons you did it. Just during this pandemic, the meat packing plants were the site of some of the worst outbreaks. And I think this really revealed to a lot of people the conditions of working inside those plants and the fragility of the lives of people who work inside those plants. But then, we heard from the federal government, the line was, we need to keep these plants open because we can't have a meat shortage. Right. So my point is, do you think people will start giving up meat for humanitarian reasons? Are you hearing people talk like that now?
I think, I've been so curious about the young generation. And I think there's some data just came out not a long time ago that is up to 30% of youngsters that are vegetarian and vegan. So you're seeing, yes, I really think that that people understand that this is much needed. If you someone that is curious and really want to know that what you're putting in your body, and then you learn that the way that the meat that is being processed is not that great, it's like, and then it's coming to yourself, to your body, we all energy, that I think, I really think that it's changing a lot, and it's been changing a lot, A few years ago, I think the vegetarian and the vegan industry were probably at zero. Now they're like billions of dollars, So, but, we have to, I don't want to go to the extreme. I think we need to rebalance who we are as human and what we're eating and what we're producing. And for me, the first things for me is to look at my community, what the farmers are doing, what they're producing. I want to help them. I want to help them to be able to make their farm valuable, and then so people can just buy also their produce. We are very lucky. We are very lucky because we have a farm up in Sonoma, and during this pandemic, it was not about us buying food from somebody else. We used the farm to make the food, and it was all vegetarian. And because I knew and I understand also the good of healthy, beautiful food cooked, from farm to table, and I didn't need any protein, and because you can find protein in the vegetable too, you can find.
Yeah. Potatoes have protein.
There is country, there is part of India, they've been on the vegetarian diet forever. There's places in Japan too. They just so, I think meat has become this thing about classes and luxury. And so for someone say, oh, I'm going to go to a steakhouse, that just make them feel so powerful. But at the end of the day, you need to understand, you need to be curious and understand really. But I think it's shifting, now, and I love it. I love it. But I don't want to be extreme once again. I'm not about all the way veganizing, because there is some vegan food that I'm not sure about it, because I'm looking at the ingredient and I'm like, where that come from? There's nothing organic. What is this? So I think we have to come to the middle, but those factory farming needs to stop. Period.
So the way that you work with food has often been compared to how a modern artist works. You're not just focusing on flavor, you're trying to capture a memory or evoke an emotion. Right. And I wonder, the twin crises that we've talked about, or that you brought up earlier, that you had lockdown during cancer and then during this pandemic. And I wonder if that has approached your art, influenced your approach to your art, your ideas for dishes, or given you any new ideas?
Oh, yes, totally. I think before I was definitely trying to tap into memories of my childhood and also my travel. And then when the cancer happened, and it's funny because I always eat, I eat healthy, but I love my chocolate. I love, I'm not like, I like food, I like good food, and I always wanted to know, where the food come from. But it's interesting with the cancer, it allowed me to be curious and do a lot of research about food and what food can bring, to the body. So through the cooking, also from atelier to petit crème to bar crème, I mean, the dishes that we make, every ingredient has a purpose. It's really, we are so interesting about this, and that's how we've been creating dishes. And I'm also, been very fascinated by the history of California and the Native American and here, and how they were dealing with food and the earth and the planet and that way of thinking and that philosophy really inspiring me. So we're creating a dish right now. It's called California, and it's really interesting. It's all grain and vegetable and mostly allium, because allium it's everywhere in California. But it's also trying to tap into the story of the time and space where I am. So yeah, I mean, those moments bring a lot of curiosity within me, and I always try to integrate them in the food, because food is a language. Food helps to communicate maybe a sense of place, but also a narrative that you want to express to others.
I
have a lot of things to say.
No, that sounds really interesting. I wonder if there's a new film out called Gather that's just premiered. It's a documentary on Native American chefs around the country that I'm looking forward to seeing. Maybe you've already seen it, but.
No, I haven't seen that. I want to see that. Yes, but it just also it's so interesting. I think we can find the answer for today and for tomorrow when we look back to the past. Always find answer in the past, and I always believe that. Where with food, when fermentation came into being so trendy, it's been done for centuries, So I always look in the past to try to find new way of thinking, because there's always answer, I think, there.
Well, I just have one or two more questions, but I want to remind people that they will have a chance in 10 minutes for this Q&A, and so they can ask questions in the chat or comment section. And so we're coming up on that. But I just wanted to get into an issue on a lot of people's minds, especially right now. And that's the fight for racial justice. So what do you think is a restaurant's responsibility in creating or fighting for racial equity?
Well, I mean, it's, I've been, within myself, I've been fighting this for a long time. Equality has been always a must. My industry needs to really look deep, because there is a lot of issues: inequality, racial issue. Woman, gay. We need to do a lot of work. So what I will like for my peers and my colleagues to do, it's really to rethink about, to really reflect on who they are and do their work with themselves, and don't just hire people because you think. Don't hire just a woman because suddenly we have the Me Too movement. Don't hire LGBT person because it's gay Pride Month, and I just don't want, people to think that do not do that. Do your homework. Be the person that you want to be, and give a voice and opportunity to also other, and bring diversity to your restaurant. Bring that diversity. You're going to see when you have diversity and when you start to see people and listen to their story, it's going to bring so much more to who you are and what you're making, because food is energy. And those people, anybody that work with you, you're not on the line every day making the food. They are making the food. And this is their voice on the plate also. So, I was talking to my friend Russell the other day, and my friend Tanya Holland also, that is an incredible chef. Brown Sugar Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, amazing. I love her. We know each other for a long time, and people need to wake up, and action need to be taken now. And yes, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for people to look at themselves, but we have to do that. Everyone has to do that, and they had to do that a long time ago. But unfortunately, they didn't. But now it's the time, and it's an incredible time, and it's a beautiful time, and it should be. We say that food bring people together. We all say that. So let's walk the walk and talk the talk. If you say that food bring people together, bring people also together within your own company, and don't discriminate. I don't. It's not okay. It's never been okay. It's not okay. So we're going to see some changes, I think.
And have any of the protests or conversations right now sparked conversations in your staff about changes you want to make, in the kitchen or the dining room?
We've been a company that is been fight for inclusivity since the beginning. So I'm telling you, I almost cried the other day, because every single member of my team, they work faster than ever because they wanted to be a part of the protest. And it happened a few years ago when we did the protest, the Woman March, and my team were like, can we close the restaurant for a couple hours? And I'm like, yeah. And my team, those youngsters that work with me, I'm just so in awe with who they are. And they are such the future they are the now, but also the future of this country. And every day it's a beautiful discussion, and I'm so grateful, but I feel very lucky. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Dominique. I have a few more questions from our audience.
Right.
I don't think we'll get to them all, but I'll pick my favorites. So Stephanie wonders, you had a lot of confidence at a young age. What explains how you managed to keep that and pursue your career without getting discouraged?
Good question. Thank you, Stephanie. Well, I was very young, and my dad, I was talking to him about success, and I was talking to him about him seeing a lot of people coming in and out of the house, and because he was a politician. And I was like, wow, Dad, you're so successful. You got everything you want. And it was like, Dom, this is not success. You need to know yourself, and you need to have confidence. When you go out of this world, when you have a platform, you need to give back to others because things has been given to you. But you need to be confident in life. And remember, no one is better than you, but you're not better than anyone else either. But you go out there with their set of mind, and people are going to go at you and going to try to punch you. But always know who you are inside. Get to know yourself. And I think when you get at a very young age, if you give that tool to a young child and tell them that, hey, it's okay. Get to know who you are. You are as good as other. No one is better than you, but you're not better than other. And it just gives them a different view, I think, of the world, and they can go to this world with this confidence that I think every child needs, So, and it's not easy. At times, it's not easy, but that's what I work. That's what I work into through life. This is the way I work every day, And it's been rich and incredible, and that's who I am. So that's what I would say to people: know yourself and find your own confidence, because you have a voice.
So you're known for breaking barriers. This question comes from Lynn. You're known for breaking barriers. What barriers are still left in the food industry to break?
A lot of barrier. Well, I think first of all, equality needs to. There's a lot of barriers still. There is a lot of inequality. There is also pay. I think everyone needs to be paid for their time, and everybody is valuable, and everybody needs to be looked at not as a number but as a person that is very valuable for your company. So that it needs to happen. I think the ego in the kitchen sometimes needs to calm down. And we have a lot of work to do in my industry. Like, I think we talk about this. So, I want the media to understand that food is, there is no discrimination with food. So don't put women or other people in a box when you put the other on top of the world. That needs to still happen, and the way that you do those things is, I think, to come to the table and to have a conversation with everyone, and not to alienate anyone. I want to invite anyone that has been, I want to say, an asshole in the kitchen and treating people not the right way and thinking that no one has a voice. I'm inviting them to the table. Hey, you were not perfect. I'm not perfect. Let's come together and trying to find the best way to bring people together and to look at humanity as a whole. And then food would be the catalyst to all that. So that's my answer.
So this question comes from Jeremy, and he said it's a question for either of us. What do you think of what's going on at Bon Appetit? And do you think the magazine Bon Appetit, do you think this will have a lasting effect on food media? Yeah. I'm happy to weigh in too, but
yeah, I would love for you to weigh in.
Okay.
You can start.
So I think that it will have a lasting effect. I think there have been a lot of sharp essays and writers on this issue of, racism in food journalism and in media, and the fact that the media is so predominantly white. There have been a lot of people sounding the alarm on that for a lot of years, but I don't think it's this conversation has happened at such a prominent publication, and I think that the conversation that what happened at Bon Appetit recently forced is going to reverberate much more loudly. That's my hope. I just really feel like we need to get a more diverse set of voices writing about food and writing about their stories, because really food is personal identity. It's culture, it's history, and that can't just come from white journalists. So
I think it's been a problem with the food industry, that there is just the people that have been writing a lot of things, it was always the same people. There was no diversity. They didn't know the struggle or the story of others. So they were not interested in other people's story because they thought it was just one way of doing stories, And I'm not going to say, who I was talking to, but the other day I was just like, what you guys doing with your publication? I was like, well, we try to have, African American, and then others as being, a journalist, but we can't find them. And I'm like, what? That narrative need to stop. Need to stop. What we need to do right now, everyone needs to come to the table, need to take their own responsibility and need to start to do the work. That's all we need to do right now. We not need to find any excuses or, we couldn't do that. Oh, well, we could never talk about women because there is no woman chef. I'm like, what? I came in San Francisco in the 90s, and then it was like most of the restaurant was lead where with amazing chefs that mostly were women, It's like where that things come from. So let's talk about excuses. Start to take your responsibility and start to do the work. Do not ask what to do. Do the work. Do your research. Be a journalist. Tell the story. Don't just put, a list. Start to go to those restaurants. Talk to people. Really get into, and maybe it would be good for you to be curious, but also allow other voice. There's a lot of different journalists out there. They come from different backgrounds. And I think they are amazing writers, but they never also been giving a voice. In the publishing company, world also, there's a lot of books that were never published because they didn't feel that it was relevant to what the society wanted. And it's crazy to me. I want to hear everybody's voice. It's not because you have blue eyes and blonde hair that you better than someone that has dark eyes and dark hair, or dark skin. It's like, who are you to define yourself that you're superior than others? It's crazy to me. And we're going to see there is some amazing story. I'm a disciple and I'm a fan of James Baldwin. James Baldwin, one of the most incredible writer and poet in America, and he happened to be African American. I love Malcolm X, but I also love Sartre. I also love the Beauvoir, Simone de Beauvoir. I love everything because I love people that write good. If someone that write, that cook amazing food, I really don't care where they come from and which country. If the food is great, I just love it. I want to know, and I'm interested in that, because food tells story. So I think they need to start to do the work now, and stop apologizing. Take your own responsibility and do the work. That's how we're gonna move forward.
So this question comes from Raquel, and she wonders, are there any up-and-coming chefs we should be paying attention to?
A lot, I think. I think we need to pay attention to people that we haven't paid attention to. So I think it would be nice to go to your community and find, people that you are excited and inspire you. I always thought that cooking is a way of communicate with others, but I think for me, a true chef is someone that tell a story and tell their own story. It's very personalized. And I think a lot of people now, I'm just so excited. I've never been interested to go to a restaurant where the menu is exactly the same menu than other restaurant. I'm always be attracted to go to a restaurant to understand the person that is cooking the food. I have this story that I was in New Orleans 2 years ago, and I was doing a talk with woman in my industry and empowering women through food, and it was just so inspiring. And it was this young cook that came to me, and he had my book, my first book, and it's like, can you sign it? It's like, yeah. And it's like, oh, where do you work? It's like, I work at the Commander Palace. It's like, oh, yes, I was there last night. It was great. It's like, yeah, I know. Everybody was like so excited. And I'm like, no, it was really great. And then Severin asked me, I would love to come and start. I'm like, yeah, great. Okay, this is my email. This is my sous chef. You can like, and he came and he stayed with us for a year.
Wow.
And then we had a long talk. And Severin is someone that lived in New Orleans, and his root is in Senegal. And he was asking me, should I go back to where I come from, Senegal, because I want to bring all those knowledge that I have, and I want to bring my country to the level of French cuisine and Italian, and I'm like, just bring your country in a way that you cook the food that this is what the story is going to be. And he went back to Senegal, and then he's opening his restaurant in New Orleans. He went back to New Orleans. So I think he's been doing, when he was working with us, he was doing some pop-ups. So I'm very excited about what he's going to bring to the table. And there's a lot of very talented people, and we need to start to look at people and chef and maybe little restaurant, that maybe we haven't take the time because of the media. They just give you a list and this is what you need to be able to eat. Let's be more open, and I think it starts with the community, and it starts with us, also. I love to go out and to restaurant that nobody talk about, because I love the food and I love the people, and that really bring richness within me also, and because I'm learning more about other things, and maybe that also can be a part of my DNA when I cook. Oh, I get this flavor at this restaurant, and I remember when I talked to the chef, she was telling me the story of her grandmother, and then suddenly I bring maybe that little spice inside of my cooking. So it's very rich on a lot of ways. So in a lot of ways.
What was the chef's name you were talking about? The one who's opening the restaurant in
So his name is Severin, and I'm gonna try to find the name of his restaurant so I can. I just did a little Severin. I think it's in Nola. I know he sent me everything. It's like, chef, look, he's so proud. I love him. I think he's so proud. Let me see.
So a quick question then while you're looking is, and this question comes from Elizabeth because it's my favorite question. What is your favorite chocolate?
It's the chocolate that my pastry chef is making, Juan Contreras. So he's been, okay, I don't know why I can't find him on Instagram. His name is Severin. Oh yeah, here you go. His restaurant is called Dakar Nola. Dakar is, so is in, he's amazing. There you go. Everybody wanna follow him.
Dakar Nola.
Yes,
New Orleans.
She's New Orleans. Yes. So Juan's making chocolate, literally. We're making everything from scratch, actually, and it's the best chocolate I ever ate. And he works with a lot of different farmers, and some chocolate, chocolate can come from the Dominican Republic, can come from all over the world, but it's probably darker. I would say 75% maybe cacao.
Mm-hmm.
But I love praline, also chocolate praline, and praline is, you give me praline and chocolate with praline is, you have me. I can do anything you want me to do. I mean, it depends what it is, but my father used to, every Sunday, he used to go to the bakery and used to obviously bring, chocolate croissant and chausson and all that. But he used to bring me that bouchée au chocolat that was made with praline and hazelnut. And it's this bouchée that, it's a hard shell, but when you eat it, it's like soft praline chocolate, and it's, I mean, it's delicious. So
you're making us all very hungry.
Yeah, so that's what I love. So if you want to send me some, please do.
So it is an Inforum tradition to ask all of our speakers the following question. What is your 60-second idea to change the world? Let's hear it.
Oh, okay, 60 seconds. To change the world is be the person that you want to be to change the world. And then when you start to understand yourself and you really walk the walk and talk the talk, it's about education, it's about humanity, it's about curiosity, it's about spending your money with purpose. It's about making sure that the next generation have the tool to be better, and the work is now, because we got to forge the way for a new world for the new kids out there. I have 2 6-year-olds, so believe me, I want to change the world, one mouth at a time through food, but to also curiosity and to do the work also. So we have the responsibility now. I don't want them to have a world that is not working anymore. So come together, but education, and it starts with us as adults, and make sure that the next generation has the right tool to be able to be better people than we were. And it's all about humanity. Let's come together.
Thank you, Dominique Crenn, for joining us today at Inforum.
Thank you for having me.
So we'd like to remind the audience that copies of Dominique's new book, Rebel Chef, are available to purchase now.
Rebel Chef, yes.
With the hat.
With the hat.
If you'd like to watch more virtual programs or support the Commonwealth Club's efforts in making virtual programming, please visit commonwealthclub.org/online. I'm Maddie Oatman, and thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.